Okay, everybody, welcome to a brand new week, a brand new edition here of Notre Dame Daily, brought to you by FanArch. I'm Pete Mulroy, and we know this past weekend the Irish wrapped their regular season Saturday night with a thorough victory over Stanford, a win which helped Marcus Freeman's bunch end the regular season on a 10-game win streak, now sitting at 10-2 overall, and presently with the number 9 ranking in the CFP Top 25. The Irish are now going to wait to see what happens regarding that 12-team playoff. Notre Dame, of course, will not play again until the postseason, as there's no conference championship or 13th game for the Golden Domers to play. Saturday night, the Irish handled a Stanford team that, while they came in 4-7, owned a 4-1 record at home, led by a balanced rushing attack, timely passing from C.J. Carr. The Golden Blue outgained the Cardinal 524 to 312, while limiting the damage Frank Reich's squad did on the offensive side of the ball. From a Stanford perspective, it certainly didn't help matters that stud running back Micah Ford was a late scratch after suffering a hand injury during practice prior to Saturday's game. And for a team that struggled to move the ball through the air already in the 11 games prior, for the most part, there wasn't much to be done against this Irish defense. And speaking of, Leonard Moore was an absolute machine in this one once again, breaking up 3 passes, picking off an Elijah Brown pass for his 5th INT of the season, helping the cause there with more for Chris Ash's bunch with Drake Bowen. Devontae Smith had a nice game. Jaden Osbury and Luke Talich, they combined for 19 tackles and a sack. The play of the game also belonged to Talich, who took a fake punt pass from Josh Burnham in the second quarter, 84 yards to the house, giving the Irish a 21-0 lead. 2 more touchdowns by Aeneas Williams, and Jadarian Price would put the Irish up 35-3 at the break. And even before that, they'd never come close to looking back. This was a performance on the heels of what Notre Dame did against Syracuse, where everything was clicking. Yes, inferior opponent. Syracuse has had a litany of injuries. Stanford, while better from a talent perspective, still trying to get back to that competitive level that we had grown accustomed to in years prior, specifically when David Shaw was the coach. But Notre Dame really acquitting itself well once again, led by the ground game, which, as usual, once again was outstanding. Williams, Jeremiah Love, and Price rushed for 4 scores between them, while gaining 164 on the ground. C.J. Carr, crisp as well, 17 of 27, 205. Didn't need to do too much, but he threw for 2 additional scores as well. And look, while the Irish were never tested in this one, it was the type of performance they needed to end this season, given what's at stake. And if you want to continue to think big picture, which they certainly are, we are as well. In a display of strength, Notre Dame left no room for doubt. Now, we'll just have to see where the CFP committee feels the Irish belong come tournament time, because you can't do anything different or better than what the Irish have done. Backs against the wall since back-to-back losses, games 1 and 2 to 2 teams ranked inside the CFP top 15 to Miami, and then Texas A&M. I know A&M went down over the weekend to Texas, who's looked good as of late. But Notre Dame, all they could do was win out, and that's exactly what it did. And just a bit more on that Irish run game, which we all know is powered by Heisman contender and should be favorite Jeremiah Love. While it was great to see Love set the single-season touchdown record Saturday with his 21st score of the season, which broke the previous record held by the great Jerome Bettis. He set that in 1991. It was an injury scare that had Irish nations, including yours truly, with knots in their stomach. Love would finish the night with 66 ground yards and a score, but when he was hit in the ribs by a Stanford defender on Notre Dame's second offensive drive of the game, he stayed down on the grass for a bit. Moments later, he would sit up, then stand and exit the field, heading straight to the tent. And while Love would later say that once he got to the tent, he knew he'd be okay, it didn't lessen the stress of how to approach the remainder of the game for the starting running back and Heisman hopeful for Marcus Freeman, fully knowing that Love is among the favorites for the award. Freeman said after the game that he said the choice to return would be solely Jeremiah's, as he's the only one who truly knows how his body feels. And anybody's ever been hit there, it sucks to get hit, especially with a guy coming full strength at you, all falling on top of you. It sucks, all right, especially at the high Division I level where these are the greatest athletes in the world. So there's no way that felt good. And you could see the anguish on him, as tough as he is. Though Love did, in fact, return after halftime, he was limited, as only 8 of his, again, total 66 yards came during the final 30 minutes of game action. It was certainly unsettling, all right? There's no getting around that given what's on the line here for Notre Dame and the future prospects we think they all should have a shot at attaining during the postseason. But with a few weeks off now to rest and recover, if you make the CFP, it starts December 19th. Love will be ready to roll come postseason time. From a Heisman perspective, even though the dominant stats weren't there Saturday night, primarily due to the rib injury and the fact that Notre Dame was in control once again and didn't need to inject their stud players as often, to me, the voters can simply look at that opening drive of the game for Notre Dame. Love, the nation's 4th leading rusher, carried the rock 8 times on said drive, picked up 54 yards, and that score. It was another display of the athleticism, strength, ability after first contact, which he's great at, and overall dominance Love has displayed basically since putting on an Irish uniform, really the last 2 years, as we know. He'll absolutely be invited to New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. And while he should absolutely win the award, you know Love has much bigger visions, one that directly relate to the entirety of the Fighting Irish football team. But it was certainly great to see him bounce back and recover, albeit limited in the second half. The point was he was out there. Now you get maybe 20 days or so of rest, give or take. So it is absolutely essential now that Jeremiah Love used that time, as the whole program should, to rest, reset, and get ready to roll for wherever your next game or games, hopefully, are to take place. And stepping up, in the somewhat absence, if we will, of Jeremiah Love on Saturday was Aeneas Williams. Undeniable talent. Williams has gotten increased opportunity here to run the ball the past few weeks. And in Palo Alto, the kid took full advantage. Found the end zone twice on 10 carries where he generated 83 yards. That's more than 8 yards per carry. As you know, those totals led the Irish running back room, which also included scores by Love and Price. The increased workloads also give you sort of another look at what the future of the position might hold. Williams ran with authority and elusiveness, showcasing a consistent ability to bounce off would-be tacklers and gain solid chunk yardage with each attempt. I mean, he's been good in limited opportunities. We know what we have here in Aeneas Williams. Heading into what is hopefully going to be a playoff berth, having the solid blanket of Williams behind both Love and Price, and we can put Nolan James in there, who's gotten opportunities as well, just makes the Irish offense deeper. We've seen the steady development of CJ Carr under center, and that kid is clearly the real deal. The rapport he's built with receivers like Malachi Fields, Will Pauling, KK Smith, Eli Rowd, and Jordan Faison has been special. Add in that devastating rushing attack, which is protected by an offensive line that has played incredibly well for most of the season. An impressive feat considering some of the injuries they've dealt with, and this Mike Denbrock offense has the potential to hammer the opposition regardless of who it is. That's a scary thought when you remember how talented the Irish defense is on the other side of things. It makes for a damn good complete two-headed monster there with offense, defense. Sure, there's some confidence issues there with the place-kicking game. I get it. Eric Schmidt was good in the PATs on Saturday, didn't attempt the field goal, but he nailed all 7 of his tries, so that's good from a boost perspective. But there is that uneasiness there. But from offense and defense, 1-2, you're as good as there is in America. The run game, as we know, though, is Notre Dame's bread and butter. Continued development from guys like Aeneas Williams only makes it more lethal, as we know. And that's a scary proposition for anyone the Irish might see the rest of the way. And just finally for today, following Saturday's win over Stanford, Notre Dame's 10th straight, since again dropping its first 2 games to Miami and Texas A&M to start the season, Marcus Freeman spoke on how he feels his team is among the best in the nation. Quote, "We have improved as much as anyone in the country." This came on the heels of Notre Dame's 49-20 win over the Cardinal. "We have been playing as well as anybody, and we have, in my opinion, the best player in the country." Freeman would go on to say, "You want the best teams in the country? I truly believe we're one," end quote. Shortly after the game, those were some of his words. That, of course, is in reference to the Irish being one of the 12 teams in the upcoming college football playoff. On both sides of the ball, Notre Dame has simply looked different in a great way since opening the season 0-2. I think we would all agree with that. I think the proof's in the pudding. It's an undeniable fact. Carr has quickly become one of the top passers in the nation, while the run game, paced by Love, offensive line, and defense as a whole, have been playing at incredibly high levels. Coaches are always going to advocate for their teams. That's nothing new. But in this case of this Irish group, Coach Freeman is on point. Notre Dame has simply played like one of the best teams in the country, basically since the second half of that Purdue game, with 2 wins against teams currently in the CFP top 25, both by double digits, mind you, and a handful of other quality wins, including those over Navy and North Carolina State. Don't undersell those 2 bowl teams. The Irish have proven they're a team that can legitimately compete for a national title, as they did a season ago. And you make the case that this team is better than last year's team. It has no impact on it, but it's fun to make that comparison. And I think there are parallels here to be made, though I think this group Marcus Freeman has here is deeper and more well-rounded than a year ago, where they almost came back and pulled off what would have been a monster comeback in the national title game against Ohio State. Now we'll just have to see where the committee puts the gold and blue in the rankings released this Tuesday. The final reveal of the top 12 will be this Sunday, December 7th. So we'll surely have loads to talk about in the days ahead, including on tomorrow's program and throughout the week. For now, that's all. I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. While not necessarily Notre Dame related, I do want to share some of my thoughts on the circus that is Lane Kiffin. Unprecedented. Something we really haven't seen before, and not for positive reasons. You all know what I'm talking about, so we'll discuss it a little more. Won't spend too much time on it, but it is something newsworthy and college football noteworthy and deserving of getting into. Until then, have a great rest of yours, and you know it by now. As always, go Irish.